In section 8.1, we are going to begin our statistics unit by looking at box plots. These are sometimes also called box and whisker plots. And our objective is to make and interpret box plots. To make a box plot, you must know the following. You have to know the minimum, or sometimes it's called the lower extreme, which is just your lowest data point, the lowest number that you have. Your maximum, or your upper extreme, that's your highest data point. The median is your middle data point, so whenever you put your data points in numerical order, it's the middle number. You also have to know your first quartile, or sometimes that's called your lower quartile. This is the median of the lower half of the data, or the 1/4 of the way point of the data. The third quartile, or the upper quartile, is the median of the upper half of the data. Altogether, these 5 numbers are often called the 5-number summary, and they are the points that you need to know to make a box plot. So, let's do some examples. So, for all of these, if we're finding the 5-number summary for each data set, first of all the numbers have to be in numerical order. For convenience, so it won't take us quite as long, I have went ahead and put these in numerical order. So you can see here that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 data points. So students do several different things here. If you have 9 data points, half of 9 is 4.5. So you'll round up. That'll be the 5th number, will be your middle number here. This will be your median. Another thing students do a lot of times is just sort of tick the numbers off here. You got 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and then, of course, that 8 there is the middle number. So you can do what you would like there for that. So 8 is our median. So that is our middle number. Then we're going to take the 4 numbers on this side, and we'll find the median of that data. Now, since there are 4 numbers here, we're not going to include that 8. The 4 numbers here, the median is going to fall between 6 and 7. Whenever that happens, we're going to take the average of those 2 numbers. So halfway between 6 and 7 is going to be 6.5. This is what we call our first quartile, or sometimes that's called Q with a 1. This is our first quartile that we've got here. Sometimes we call that Q with this little subscript of a 1. On the upper half of the data, we have these 4 numbers, so the halfway point would be here between 10 and 11. So our third quartile here is going to be 10 and a half. So 10.5 is our Q3. So our summary of our data here, our minimum value here is 5. Our first quartile, which I'm going to use a Q1 to show, is 6.5. Our median is going to be 8. Our third quartile is 10.5. And our maximum, of course, is 14. If we look at the next set of data that we have, these are prices of gas, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers here. So the halfway point of these numbers falls right here between the 4th and 5th number. So we're going to average those two together. Between 209 and 211, we would have 210. That would be our median. Then our first quartile is going to fall here between 2.06 and 2.08. That's our Q1. That will be 2.07. And then between 213 and 214, this is our Q3. Now, the halfway point between those is 2.135. If you have numbers you're having trouble figuring out there in your head, you can always just average the numbers. So, like if I have let's go back to the main screen. 213 plus 214, and I divide that by 2. See, I get 2.135. So the summary here, my minimum is 2.01. Our first quartile is 2.07. The median is 2.10. The third quartile is 2.135, and the maximum is 2.17. Okay, so that would be my 5-number summary for these. Let's look at a couple more because they're just a little bit different when you have different amounts of numbers. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 numbers. Half of 15 is 7.5. If I round that up, that would be 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This 8th number right here is going to be my median. And you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers on the left side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers on the right side, so I know that I've got that median correct. Over here, this is going to be my first quartile, and over here this 8 will be my third quartile. We don't include that median here. We just take these 7 numbers and split those in half. So my minimum is going to be 0. My first quartile is 1. My median is 4. My third quartile is 8. And my maximum is 10. On the next problem, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 numbers. Half of 11 is 5.5. If we round that up, we get 6. So the 6th number is our median. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 23 right here is our median. We have 5 numbers on each side. So this 17 right here and this 31. Those are going to be our quartiles. So our minimum here would be 12. Our first quartile is 17. The median is 23. The third quartile is 31. And our maximum is 40. Okay, so all of those will be needed for the box plots that we will make. Now, let's look at this next set of data that we've got. We want to know how many letters are in your first and last name. So to save time, I went through and collected the number of letters in the first and last name of all of the students in our class. So we should have 25 data points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 data points. So we have 25 data points here, and they're not in order. We could put all of these in order, but that does take a little while to do. So for this one, I'm going to show you guys how to do this on the calculator. So actually, let me move this over this way a little bit so that I've got room to put both the calculator and this on the screen. So to do this on the calculator can give you a 5-number summary. We're going to go to Stats and Edit, just like we would if we were doing like our L1 and L2 for a linear regression. But for this, we're going to clear out both L1 and L2. Just hit up, hit clear, and hit enter. It'll clear out those lists. And then we are just going to put all of these numbers here in the first list. Okay, not in L1 and L2, but just all in L1. So we'll type those in quickly. And you can see right here on that last one, it says L1, and you've got that 25, so you know you've got 25 values in. So we probably didn't skip any. Hopefully we've got everything in there right. No, we don't. Let's fix this one. We've got 17. Okay. All right, so that looks better. So we've got all of our data points listed in L1. Now, the good thing about this is that we don't have to put these in order. The calculator can find these statistics even without putting these in order. Because it puts it in order itself. So now we can press Stat, and we're going to go over to Calc, and we're going to choose number 1, which is one variable statistics. We only have one variable here. That's why we only filled up L1. So we're going to hit enter and then enter. And then one variable statistics gives us a lot of numbers, many of which we're not going to use right now. These first numbers are stuff we're going to talk about later. You should see n equals 25 right here. That means we have 25 data points. And you see this little arrow that goes down. So if we press the down arrow, it's going to give us some more information. And this is where we get our 5-number summary. So we see min is 9, Q1 is 11, median is 12, Q3 is 14.5, and the max is 22. So all of this information we're going to use to make a box plot. So to make a box plot, we first want to have a number line, and on that number line we need to make sure we go at least from 9 up to 22. So we've got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, and I'm going to put myself a little mark at 9 and another mark at 22. I'm going to put a mark at 11, at 12, and at 14.5, so right here between 14 and 15. These middle 3 marks make up our box, like this, and then we draw the whiskers like this on either end. So each section of this graph contains 25% of the data. This whisker over here is really long. It still only contains 25% of the data. These few names, the 21, 22, 2019, those all sort of fall in this part. But there's not more names in that section because it's longer. So let's look at a few questions about a box plot. So here I have a box plot that gives the number of pets. So out of some group of people, their distribution shows that this is how many pets they have. So each of these we're going to tell whether this is true or false. For number 1, it says 75% of the students surveyed have less than or equal to 4 pets. So we can see 4 pets falls right here. And each section of the box plot is 25%. So there's 25% in this box. There's 25% in this box, and there's 25% in this whisker. So at 4 or below, we have 75% of those of the data falls there. So this is true. Okay. Number 2 says most students in the class have between 4 and 8 pets. Now it is true that 4 to 8, this is the longest section of the box plot here, the longest single section, but it still only contains 25% of the data. So only 25% of the students have between 4 and 8 pets. We would not use the word most, implying a majority there for 25%. So this would be false. Number 3 says half of the students have 1 to 4 pets. Right here is 1, right here is 4, and 50% of the students fall between 1 and 4. So half of the students have 1 to 4 pets. That, of course, says 1/4 of the students have no pets. If we look right here, the bottom 4 do fall between 0 and 1, but that could also include students who have 1 pet. This is 1 or below. So this would be a false statement. Here. And there's one more thing we need to talk about whenever, these are not directly related to box plots, but they're similar, and those are percentiles. So a percentile is the percentage of data points that lie below a given data point. So one place you've probably seen this a lot is on your EOC. So for example, if you score in the 94th percentile on your Math 1 EOC, that means you did better than 94% of the students who took the test. So you did better than 94% of the other students. It does not mean you made you got 94% of the questions correct. It just means that you did better than 94%. You might have actually made like an 85, but that may have been better than 94% of students who took the test. If you make in the 45th percentile, that means that you did better than 45% of the students who took the test. Whenever you go to the doctor, they'll often tell you that you are in the 72nd percent for height. That means of students your age, you are taller than 72% of other kids your age. So those are all places that you may see percentiles. Be careful to know that it does not mean your score. It's the percentage that lie below. So it's the percentage that you are higher than.